Hello everybody, welcome back to It's Current Year for another quick battle ladder replay. Today we are moving away from the Twisted and Twilight, just getting back to good old fashioned Warhammer 2 for a bit with two regular factions, not the Wood Elves or the Skaven. So today I'm playing Tank, a very good player obviously. He has taken the Vampire counts, I am taking the Lizardmen. We will go through the builds. My opponent has taken a couple of units of Vargas, which are cool to see. You don't see them a lot, but they have been given some armor piercing now, so they're probably a little bit more dangerous than they used to be. We've also got a big sort of secondary line of Crypt Horrors, another monstrous infantry unit that in days of old were absolutely unbelievably good and have sort of taken a backseat to a lot of other elements. 3 units of zombies in the front line, 4 units of Graveguard with great weapons, going to be pretty decent at chomping through things like Saurus Warriors, even Temple Guard, they have a pretty good matchup against. For the hero core here, we've taken the Banshee. The Banshees are really good in this matchup. There's not a lot of magical attacks on the Lizardmen roster. Obviously, the Slan can take some stuff, and there's some other little elements here and there, but they're just really hard to deal with, combined with heals to spam them down. We've got Vlad von Carstein, another not so often picked lord, but we'll see if the new patch can sort of make Footlords playable and give him some teeth. He has taken the Carstein Ring, which is now a multi-use item, which is great. A little bit less damage resistance, but I think that's overall made it a better item. And he has taken the Wind of Death, which is not something you see super often. The Blood Drinker, obviously, for his regen, and then the stock standard Invocation, Raise Dead, Van Hell's Dance Kebab, which you normally see. But yeah, Wind of Death. We'll see if we can get a good, Wind of Death off. We've also got the Necromancer back here on the Corpse Cart for its regen effect, as well as just to actually mass regen, as well as its Rigor Mortis. He's got no spells on this guy, so it's basically just a big buff engine. And regen sort of tool in the main fighting. So for my forces, I have this is a sort of a force that is reasonably good, has some very strong elements in the Vampire Counts matchup. So 3 Chameleon Skinks out the front, 3 units of Saurus Warriors. They chew through zombies and skeletons today, but they're going to be up against it here with the Crypt Horrors and the Graveguard. Certainly going to put a bit of hurt on them. The Salamander Hunting Packs are good in this matchup because there's a lot of key elements in the Vampire Counts roster that are weak to fire damage, particularly Mortis Engines, which unfortunately my opponent hasn't taken, but Crypt Horrors are weak to fire, so we might be able to still get some good damage output from them. 3 units of Cold One Spear Riders. They can be used. They've obviously got a few good matchups here. No Blood Knights, but we've got Crypt Horrors, we've got some Vargeists. So these guys will probably be sort of the backline sweepers. They'll have to babysit the Chameleon Skinks and the Salamanders a little bit. For my own heroes, I have taken Krokgar and a Skink Beast Summoner. So he's just got the stock standard Flock of Doom and the Manticore Summon. Krokgar has taken the Hand of the Gods as well as his passives for his what's it called? Speed of Itzel, and the other one, the physical resistance and speed buff. So we're gonna move up here. As I said, I see his force, and it's completely not what I was expecting. But it's cool to see. This monstrous infantry come back in, and also obviously elite infantry, given their bracing bonus and their, I think, a general sort of mass increase is going to make, I guess, an army like this a little bit more viable than the stock standard, just spamming cheap infantry and zombies and the like, and then sitting everything around your value targets around your Mortis engine. So he does sort of move forward with his Crypt Horrors. I'm going to answer that with the Cold One Spear Riders, just to make sure they can't push back too much. I wanted to get some damage into the Vargeists here. Obviously, Chameleon Skinks will do a fair bit of damage to them, given that they don't have great armor, only 10 armor on Vargas. So we see a little bit of poking damage here. Don't want to overcommit with anything, but I'm going to bring my Saurus Warriors up to take the initial charge, and I may be able to get a counter charge into the Crypt Horrors here with a couple of, maybe a unit or two of Cold One Spear Riders, but I am conscious obviously not to get dive bombed by these. I want my Salamanders to do good work here. I want them to be able to put some damage onto the Crypt Horrors, possibly even put some damage onto this Necromancer, who is also weak to fire as a, I believe weak to fire as a regenerating unit. Perhaps not. Oh yeah, he is. Yep, there's the tooltip there. So yeah, we see see the Vargeist swooping down, and I'm going to be responding pretty quickly with my Cold One Spear Cavalries here, moving my Chameleon Skinks out to the flank. Unfortunately, I'd probably leave these guys. Look at the damage they did on the charge. Recharge as well, so they're unfortunately going to be break. I was probably just a little bit too slow there with the option, and I probably should have broken off this Cold One Spear unit to come and deal with these two Crypt Horror units, but we see an absolute torrent of poison darts coming into this Vargulfs, and the rear charge from the Cold One Spear Riders. These Vargeists are toast. They're not going to make it out of there, but the Master of Beguilement just absolutely nuking my melee attack. 0 melee attack here, so we've got the absolute base hit chance, and look at this, completely unexpected. I will fess up right now and say I did not even look to see if Vlad was taking this, and my infantry line is Cactus. So not a spell you see all that often anymore, just because it's because of its massive cost and the fact that by and large Vampire Counts players are going to make use of summons and heals more so than massive damage spells. But my infantry line, my supposedly sturdy infantry line of Saurus warriors, has evaporated, and this has left me in a real bind here. Obviously these Saurus warriors will last out here. Their morale's good, even against the Grave Guard. They'll punch above their weight. But now I'm really lacking units to actually screen out any of these threats from my Salamanders, one unit of which has been unfortunately broken off completely. I have got some regrouping Spear Riders. Croc-Gar is just taking a bit of a nap out here at the moment, unfortunately, and we're just going to put these guys in, basically just to buffer and allow ourselves to shoot in. We do have 35 Saurus Warriors out here, and I'm trying to just split up now. I get a great Hand of the Gods down on that Necromancer, as well as a Flock of Doom. Just good value at this point. I have got a Manticore Summon coming down here, but it's not on the right target. It needs to be hitting that Necromancer. It's not going to do a lot of damage with the massive physical resistance on the Banshee, and unfortunately at this stage there's just this inexorable tide of undead. Obviously going to be good value here for the Necromancer with his healing sort of proximity passive sort of buff. And again, we're just having to play a fight in retreat here. My Cold One Spear Riders have taken a real hit as well from the mainly probably the Crypt Horrors and the dive bomb, the initial dive bomb of the Vargeist. But we have managed to at least get the flying units down to a state where they're pretty much out of the game. There's only 3 here. They're probably going to crumble out of existence, to be honest, if they suffer any more volleys. There is a big blob here, so this Skink Priest at the very least is going to get good value for his Flock of Dooms. I'm basically affecting everything here, so he's going to accrue some pretty nice value, but again, it's going to be counteracted. I'm making a very conscious effort not to overcast this, because I realise that they're going to blob up around the Necromancer. They're going to stay pretty high and tight. If they do use an invocation, they're going to want to make use of being as close as you can to the caster and getting off as many units getting it on as many units as possible. But we are going to actually snipe out the Necromancer here. I see this as, his speed is going to mean he's lagging behind, and we can start to just work down one by one little elements that we need. The Chameleons obviously have a fair bit of ammo left between them, and they're really healthy. I haven't suffered any unit losses on here, so we are just playing a fight in retreat. I am waiting for the next charge of Hand of the Gods, one of which was used to put a lot of damage onto that Necromancer, who has now died. But I realise my next target needs to be this Banshee. As I said, there's no magic damage here other than really the Flock of Doom, which isn't going to do a ton to a single entity, and the Hand of the Gods. So I'm just going to try and punch through as often as I can. I'm not going to give Vlad too much of a chance to isolate Croc-Gar. Unfortunately, this is good play by my opponent. He'll snipe. A Banshee will snipe a Skink Priest very quickly as we get the big puff of Carnosaur musk or whatever he squirted out here. So here we see a Hand of the Gods being lined up, and unfortunately just doesn't really hit with any of the projectiles. That basically did no damage, which is very, very frustrating, because that's basically my only way of dealing with this guy effectively. Vlad's healthy as well, still probably has a Cast Iron Ring off cooldown. He's going to be targeting down this Skink Priest now with some zombie summons, which is nice. It probably won't do a ton of damage to him, but it's at the very least going to stop him from getting away. And I realise now that this is where the fight's going to be won and lost. Obviously, I can kite the infantry. These guys are all pretty messed up. Salamanders, at the very least, once they've expended their ammo, can put a bit of hurt down on the Grave Guard, who won't get the use of their anti-infantry bonus against these guys. I still have a little bit of ammo left on a couple of my chameleon skinks, but poisoned attacks in combat might be able to swing things in my favor a little bit. But the value of the Banshee now, this high armor piercing split that he has, starting to put some hurt on Croc-Gar. As we see, dropping to 4k hit points. He's used both the charges of the Hand of the Gods, whereas we get another Flock of Doom going down, but single entities, as you see here, not going to take a ton of damage. They actually have a pretty good chance to resist the damage of the Flock of Doom. And at this point, I've used Flock of Doom so much, I've realised, a Manticore summon probably isn't going to do all that much for me here, to be perfectly honest. Vlad and the Banshee can probably double team it pretty reasonably. I am getting good value here from the splash damage of the Salamanders, but they only have one shot left, and basically everything here rides on whether or not I can snipe Vlad and the Banshee. And with another invocation going down, this Banshee's probably going to... Actually, I don't think that actually affected the Banshee there, so that's probably pretty lucky for me. But the problem persists of me just not having any magic damage now. So these guys are out of ammunition nearly. The Salamanders are needing to be put into combat. They don't have great leadership, so any damage that they take is going to start to pretty badly affect their ability to stay in the fight. And there's nothing here that's weak to fire, so their main sort of having fire damage on both their melee and shooting attacks might have been effective if there were still some crypt horrors and the like, but unfortunately that's not the case at the moment. Zombie summon going down again, just trapping the models in. It's going to mean I can't withdraw with these guys, and they are actually terrified. Vlad does cause terror. Actually, I think it's the Banshee that's causing terror here. And we're just going to sort of fight a bit of a grind here. So we'll put it on a fast play, and we'll see some cycle charging. It's basically going to come down to a one-on-one between the big boy Croc-Gar himself, but with Master of Beguilement. Again, look at my combat stats. 23 melee attack against Vlad, who is a exceptional duelist. He's not getting the benefit of his anti-large bonus from the Carnosaur. 50 melee defense and 70 melee attack. He can just sit in the pocket here, and he's going to heal through a ton of this damage. We are getting some splash damage, obviously, from the effects. But, as I said, just a lack of magic damage, a lack of units which can snipe the Banshee, snipe Vlad, and tank will take a valiant defeat. So I do like this as an anti-vampire counts build. I think it's got a lot of good elements. So, like I said, I mean, barring the Graveguard here, Saurus Warriors will fight through the line. And even if I hadn't copped that massive Wind of Death that he put down, look at the value on Vlad. These guys would have been able to hold out longer, which then allows my Cold Spear Riders to cycle charge rather than basically having to hold the line, so my Chameleon Skinks and my Salamanders don't get shut down. But I just wasn't expecting a Wind of Death. I didn't even... I'll own up to the fact that I didn't even check the tooltip to see if he had it. Particularly with, I guess, the Necromancer. It could have been on, given his buff to mana regen and potential to have the Forbidden Rod, possibly to buff it up as well. Vlad does have Arcane Conduit as well. So should have been something I checked, but wasn't banking on a front line of Graveguard. Usually, they are obviously quite effective in this matchup, but usually you just see them go wide and rely on a Mortis Engine as a centerpiece, a couple of units of Blood Knights, and that's what I mainly built my list around. We can... Cold Spear Riders can at the very least hit back against Blood Knights. They will lose 1-to-1 against Blood Knights, particularly if they're healed. But the Salamanders obviously are great at sniping Mortis Engines. Had some good shots on the Crypt Horrors here, but the good little dive bomb there by the Vargeists. It's cool to see some different units being used here by Tank. And obviously, as I said at the start, very good player, so expecting a creative build and the like. But I still think this build works well against Vampire counts. Could have potentially gone very differently if that Hand of the Gods had nailed that Banshee, but wasn't to be. I think only one of the projectiles actually hit him. But yeah, great battle, all the same. So thanks for checking it out, and until next time, take care.